Welcome to the ultimate podcast experience with conversations about politics, religion, finances, and the meaning of life, and all the other subjects and stories that Nana told you not to bring to the kitchen table, and a whole lot more. Join our hosts, James the Red, Eule B. Bach, and Sam the slippery smooth producer as they settle the ultimate question: have y'all heard about this?
Didn't Happen of the Year Awards.
He's never been as dead as he is right now.
Put down the syringe, Eule. Put down the syringe.
Then I gave her an almond and told her to eat it.
After people need some love in 2023.
And he said he didn't know anything about teaching, so he just beat them.
My Secret Service had let me. I would have been right there with her.
May all your conspiracy theories be proven right.
My dog has two heads.
Have y'all seen this? Well, Happy New Year, everyone.
Happy New Year, guys.
The happiest of the New Year's.
Cheers. 2023 is upon us.
It's a nice little song.
You like that? Does
That's
it
nice.
get you a little emotional about the new year?
Yeah, a little bit.
I saw a meme the other day from 1010. Did you guys ever watch that comic book, 1010?
I watched the
or read
movie.
the comic book or watch the movie.
Yeah, I
Or,
watched the movie.
so there's that Captain Haddock. You know, he's the grizzled old guy that maybe drinks too much and lived a hard, captain's life out on the sea. And anyway, it shows him sitting at the bar, and he's got like his hand in his head. And he's like, man, 2020 has been just one heck of a year. And then you see 1010 over in the corner, and he says, sir, it's 2023.
It feels that way sometimes.
It does.
I was just thinking about that. Like 2022 was a very interesting year. It wasn't a remarkable year to me in any real way. I mean, I think some people would like if you go back and you look at the news cycle.
We started the podcast, Eule.
Well, that was a pretty big deal.
That was a red letter day.
But yeah, like you'll always remember 2020. I mean, I think partially because of it landed on this even kind of memorable.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It was definitely a year of a lot of hopes politically, hopes dashed politically. There was a lot of people thought something different was going to happen in 2022.
Well, today's a big anniversary. Today's January the 6th.
Ah.
A day that will go down in infamy.
The most orchestrated, infamous day in the history of days.
The day of days.
So to me, like it's easy to remember September the 11th, 2001, because of all the ones, 9/11/01. Like I remember that.
Yeah.
Like if that would have happened in like September 11th, 1999, I don't know that I would remember the year.
Yeah, it's definitely not as catchy.
What if
So
that was planned
2022.
intentionally?
Mm.
Just to be like,
Well, the
we need
911
some good
thing-
marketing, ploy to get in here.
But the 911 thing has always been kind
Yeah.
of
There's been some.
eerie to me because that's the number that every single body is going
Yeah.
to dial.
Yeah.
Hey, by the way, did y'all realize
is that like a coincidence, or it's so weird?
Well, that's
It's
what
so
we're
weird to think about.
proposing. Was it coincidental or very orchestrated around that number?
And then if you're going to ask that question, let's go ahead and ask the elephant in the room question: who orchestrated it?
Ooh,
Well, easy.
we were actually
Osama
kind of
bin
talking about
Laden.
that a little bit last night, and some.
Y'all were talking about
tensions
this last.
Well, kind of. We were talking about
Well,
some conspiracies and tensions.
Oh
Tensions
my
got a little
goodness!
high.
I would have loved to have been a fly in that room.
I don't know.
What I think
we got through it.
What I think is conspiracy theories 6 months out that turn into like absolute truth.
Well,
It's
yeah, that was the case I was making for it. That I remember talking about, because I had heard about like the Jeffrey Epstein thing before. It was kind of, I mean, it was I would say it's common knowledge in the sense it was a open secret, but so I remember talking to my parents about it, then being like, "What are you talking about?" And it's,
yeah, for sure. I mean, there are some conspiracies that are just kind of silly. Elvis is not still alive, and he wasn't
What?
alive. No, come on.
Probably not.
Come
Probably
on,
not.
Yule. But some conspiracies. Look, we all know people get together and conspire.
Well,
It's
for
just a matter of
me,
who's doing it, and
for me,
what
see,
topic you're doing
I
it
grew
on.
up in a different era, right? Like we grew up that the conspiracies, the hoaxes were Bigfoot, the Loch Ness monster,
Right.
it was pretty implausible stuff, like, and then, I listened to a podcast called Criminal. I may have told you guys about this, but this was a really cool one where a guy in Florida made these big plasters of weird looking big feet. And he'd walk all over the beach at night, and people would come out there and like, oh my, like they were truly duped that there's some sea creature coming out and walking around and swimming back out in the ocean. And this guy kept this secret for years before finally just telling them, like, guys, you've been had so bad. You watch some of these magicians pull off their acts, and you realize.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely
easy
some
to be
trolls out.
fooled.
There's definitely some trolls out there. Have you seen that show Nathan for You? Have you ever seen that show?
No, never heard of that.
It's a goofy show.
TV show.
I don't know if I can make like a podcast recommendation, but I think it's mostly unobjectionable. But it's this guy. Essentially, the whole concept of it is that he graduated from business school with he says really good grades, and you see like B, C minus, and things like that.
Well, that's all relative. To me, that would have been good grades.
It's just funny, like so the whole thing is kind of like it's such a great show because it's like kind of a reality show, but it's very obviously scripted, and it's very obvious like. There's a lot of kind of inside jokes. I really like that humor device where you're in on the joke, but the joke teller is not. I like that's one of my favorite things. That there's a lot of that in there. But he helps businesses that are struggling with like these unique concepts. Like one of the famous ones was it was a coffee shop, and he's like, "Well, if we can pretty much steal Starbucks branding if we're parodying it." So they became Dumb Starbucks, and it was actually like a real thing, and it like became this viral. But a lot of his stuff like has become kind of viral because like
until Starbucks sued him.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I don't know if they were able to. I can't remember how it ended, but yeah.
So, well, speaking of truth and not truth and conspiracy and all this, I stumbled across something that I wanted to share with y'all, and I really I know that. Maybe Sam has never heard of this. I'm scared that maybe James has, and that I'm not totally introducing you to something brand new. I hope I am. I hope I'm introducing James to something brand new. I know I am.
Are we talking about
Sam.
like yoga?
No.
Vegetarianism or something?
And to our listeners,
I don't want to hear it.
To our listeners, I'm glad I stumbled across this, and if I'm late to the party, forgive me, but it is hilarious. All right, so there is a Twitter feed called it's DH, like we're HYHAT. They're DHOTYA. It's the Didn't Happen of the Year Awards.
Okay.
And what it is they
goodness.
go and they find these things that people either put on, usually Twitter, I think, but it may be something they post on Facebook, but it's just such a blatant, stupid lie that people are telling for the truth.
Yeah.
And then they showcase it, and you get to vote toward the end of the year. So y'all care if I read you a few of
go
them?
for it.
That sounds awesome.
I'm not going to tell you these people's names because they're foolish enough, and they've already been drugged through the mud through this Twitter site.
Who are the people? The people that actually
Random people. These are just
the people that like posted this stuff.
Oh no, the people that yes. So the Didn't Happen of the Year people go and find these posts and highlight them.
Okay.
And retweet them. It's like, hey, here's one.
Okay, got it.
All right, so here's one, and this lady, again, it's got a sweet little picture of her child wearing her subway uniform. And here's what it says. Y'all, my son woke me up out of my sleep crying and said, "Mommy, I know you're tired of working, trying to make it better for me and my sister. I'll go to work for you today." And he's got on her uniform. This made me cry. He's only one.
I've seen these where it's like, yeah, these like everybody clapped and like these like very like editorialized.
All right, here's one. Oh man, this is good.
Oh,
you know, when
goodness.
people like pile on with the facts so much that
Yeah.
it's like they're just trying to dig the hole as deep as they can. And some of these I'll just, so you know, if you guys go back on Twitter and look at this, there's some language that I'm editing out, so you may read some words that I don't say, to
Fair
protect
enough.
your gentle ears. Here's one. Oh, my days. No joke, and that's always a dead giveaway. Oh my days, no
To
joke.
be honest here, it's like you're not being honest.
And some of these are British, so I'm not going to do the accent, but you'll probably figure it out. But it says, "Oh my days, no joke. I took the missus to Asda in Nuneaton earlier, and she's still sad about the Queen dying, rest in peace, and had a T-shirt on with the Queen's face. Stood in the queue to pay, and the worker stood up and saluted her and started singing God Save the King. Next thing you know, everyone, and I mean all caps, everyone in Asda started joining in, and the whole store is belting the national anthem. Everyone around me started clapping,
Everyone clapped.
except this one lad on crutches, but he was stamping his crutch. And you could tell the lad servicing us had a pure tear in his eye. I love this country, man."
Dude, that's a common thread in all of these stories is that everyone claps.
All
Like,
right. Okay, I've got.
Yeah.
There's two more, but this one I've got to share with you. I think this is the
And so
best.
these are the ones that were
one.
voted on as the
Yeah, I didn't even
Talking
follow
about
it.
conspiracy theories.
I didn't follow it to see like who won is the
Yeah.
biggest lie, but this one, oh my goodness. So, all right, have you guys ever in your life been involved in any sort of multi-level marketing?
Yes, unfortunately.
Okay,
I've tried hard not to.
we probably have been lured, or like
Yeah.
it happens.
I don't
right?
care if it really is a way to get $1 million now. I'm like, I'm not doing it.
See, even this marketing stuff all started when we were in college. Do y'all remember the chain letters where somebody you'd get $1 in the mail?
I never had that, but I remember the Amway. Remember?
Yeah, Amway.
Like we had
that's what I was
when
a
Terry and I
part of.
first
I was
got
part of
married. We had
Amway.
this couple that we thought this was a really cool couple. We thought, yeah, they're inviting us over for dinner, and they invited us over. They fired up the
Bait and
grill, and we
switch.
ate. And they're like, "Now, can we talk to you?" I was like, "Oh."
So here's
Such
the
a
thing,
bait and switch.
and there's in my opinion, there's really nothing wrong with multi-level marketing. In fact, that's what everything is. Like, somebody
yeah.
makes something and then somebody else sells it and then somebody else sells it to them. And but the problem with these multi-level marketing things and why they are deemed a pyramid scheme and Amway, I can't remember Amway's model, but there's a lot of them out there like this. If you sell, you can make commission if both legs below you sell. Like you've got to have an A leg and a B leg, and you could sell $40 million worth of product under A, and they would pay you nothing if B is not basically matching it. It's the stupidest thing.
So yeah, with Amway, I was part of it for a little while. With Amway, it's like the margins. If you were a potential sales recruit, I've been in sales plenty of times, and you go in there and you're like, okay, what are the margins? What's my commission?
Mhm.
Nobody would ever take that
Right.
job. Nobody
Right.
would take that job. It's like the products you can buy for, like, let's say there's a product that's $40. You can sell it for $50. It's like 10, like it's like that margin's horrendous, and
Yeah.
you're like getting a small cut. From
Except
that,
for
you
what
know?
they didn't tell you is their wholesale was $1.
Yeah, bro, yeah. So it's like they're making the biggest margin off you.
And they want you to get all these people below you all selling and get on my team. Everybody wants you on my... Anyway, listen,
absolutely.
for those of you who have fallen for my multi-level marketing schemes in the past that I got involved with, I want to sincerely apologize for getting you involved. But this one...
Are you going to do like a free return to your house of
Free-
all the, like
free-
Mary Kay
if you
products
still
and stuff?
if you still have any of that weight loss powder left over, send it my way. I need it in this new year. All right, I'm here. Here it is. I'm ready to read this for you. Today, I was eating almonds on a bench in the park, and a lady walked by and started yelling at me. "You should not be eating almonds. I have a severe allergy, and so does my son." I mean, that's plausible, right? That's like going to the grocery store.
correct.
You should not be selling almonds. Right. So this happens. We could almost just stop it right there. Like, is that not a
I know
great...
that one wins.
That didn't
That
happen.
one wins.
However, listen to this. Without saying anything, I calmly reached into my yellow purse and took up my new essential oil blend. Then I stood up, still without saying anything, and injected her and her son with the blend and the needle that I keep in my purse for situations like this.
What?
It happens more often than you think. Then I gave her an almond and told her to eat it. After she finished the almond, hold on. After she finished, she told me she had several doctors prescribe her medication for her allergy, and none of them actually worked, but mine did. She actually asked me if I was literally a doctor. And when I told her I wasn't, her jaw dropped. You aren't? Nope. I said smugly. So today, not only did I get a new customer for my blend, but I also got $100 or £100 as an apology for her bothering me. She also asked for the rest of the bag of almonds.
Dang.
And all the pigeons
She's
clapped.
like, I keep a syringe in my purse.
I
It's
mean-
just such occasions.
that one might be satirical. I don't know anybody that injects it.
I've heard of pathological lying before, but that's got to win. That's got to win. They didn't happen at the year award.
Oh my God.
It just cracks me up that people will go to such great lengths to lie to you.
Yeah.
It's like you see right through it.
Yeah. I remember that one story about your friend. Yeah. Maybe you told it on this podcast about the friend at the casino. But,
I was just thinking about that too. Still, that actually crossed my mind. I thought maybe I shouldn't air that on the podcast. Apparently, I already have.
Was it on the podcast? I can't remember if you.
I don't remember this.
You could tell though, like Eule's. You could tell Eule's physically getting agitated just thinking about it.
It's like,
I may have some people listening that that did happen a long time ago, so maybe I could protect some identity. Well, let's just say someone did an almost equal farcical bald-faced lie and looked us right in the eye.
That's
like
a very
it happened.
communist thing to do. You know, it's like like Sam and I are sitting at the kitchen table, and I have a bag of Oreos that just turned up missing. And I look at Sam, and he's got chocolate Oreo all over his face, and he starts accusing me of eating the Oreos.
like, how dare you,
And he's like,
James?
and I'm like,
eating-
Sam,
yeah.
you ate my Oreos. He goes, no, I didn't. You did. You're eating the Oreos. You ate them.
Yeah.
Don't you remember? Have you lost your mind?
Have you lost your mind? That's so true.
It
Have
is
you?
true.
And you know, when people do that to you for like 6 days straight, you do start. Well,
Yeah.
did I eat one?
Yeah.
Did you guys see the movie Chernobyl?
No.
Oh man, talking about communism and lies.
Yeah.
Newer,
Um,
older movie.
It's within the
newer,
last
isn't
few years, I'd
Yeah.
say.
It's about
a
the
Netflix.
nuclear plant.
I'd be interested in
meltdown.
that.
You need to
Chernobyl's a very
watch it.
Interesting thing for me.
You need to watch it, and I think we may have even referenced this on the podcast before. But the reason I bring it up now is because when that nuclear reactor melted down and literally carbon had exploded into pieces like all over, the leaders were saying it didn't happen. It couldn't happen. Like these things don't happen, and the people were going out like, but they're radioactive pieces laying in the parking lot, and
My
they're like,
dog has 2 heads.
and they're kind of like, and the people getting burned, and I mean it was horrible. But the leaders were looking at them saying, "You're wrong.
Yeah.
Even what you're seeing and picking up is a figment of your own imagination." Like,
Yeah.
I don't think so, buddy.
I mean, there's a fine line there between what goes on in government and the government official propaganda line and conspiracy theories. Like, it's a blurry line. Like, do you guys remember when I was a kid? I remember always hearing about this conspiracy that happened, like when Woodrow Wilson was president. So what was that? 1911?
Yeah.
Like that early.
Yeah, he's
Okay.
World War I, right?
Right before, I think is when this
Woodrow
happened.
Wilson.
But anyway, he'd had a stroke right at the end of his presidency. But the government covered it up, like his cabinet covered it up, and his wife ran the White House. Basically, she was like in his place, and so people were like, "No, that's a conspiracy. That's a conspiracy theory. That didn't happen." But yeah, it actually happened.
Well,
Wow.
you know, when FDR became wheelchair bound, remember they hid that for a
Yeah, they
long
did
time
hide
from the
that.
public.
Yeah, 'cause he had polio. Right?
Yeah.
And I know
polio.
Eleanor Roosevelt had a lot of pull. That's what I've heard.
Yeah, I think she was the Hillary Clinton of the the New Deal.
Did you hear about the times that like Hillary Clinton talked about essentially contacting Eleanor Roosevelt like post mortem?
Oh my goodness!
We'll just say.
I'm not
That's
surprised.
Have you heard
No.
The seance,
like?
But I heard that. But I had
Yeah.
read that Nancy Reagan did the same kind of crap.
Yeah,
in
I
the
heard
80s.
that. I actually have heard that same thing.
So,
well, you know who all that started with?
yeah, Saul. We
Mary-
just read
Mary-
about
well,
it.
That's true. We did
Yeah,
just read about
true.
that.
I mean, in the
Witch
White
of
House.
Endor.
Yeah, the Witch of Endor.
In the White House, it was Mary Todd Lincoln. She was big into the
Yeah,
No way.
the
it's-
occult.
well, it's the seance
mediums
thing.
Reaching out.
Well,
to
she was so
spirits.
distraught over the loss of her son, and there was a
That's
movement going across the whole, really the world, but it had hit the United States of these con men, basically trying to convince people that for pay they could communicate with these spirits, and it was a pretty big deal. They had these parties around it and get-togethers. But listen, I digress. And y'all really thrown me off with these new things because I really did want you guys.
Inspiring.
I did. I've got a couple of these bottles of this new essential oil that I want you to try.
Oh no! Put down the syringe, Eule. Put down the syringe.
What I love about that is that she rips out the syringe, she injects the lady and her son, and then sticks an almond in her mouth, and the lady's like, "Okay, I'll do it,"
and it worked. But
she batters.
But I want you guys on my team. I want Sam. I want you to be the A leg. I want James. I want you to be the B leg, and we're gonna make millions selling these.
We're starting this.
Billions and billions and billions of dollars.
No, there's some. So my mother sells Jafra products, which is a multi-level, but the products are really good.
Mm-hmm.
You can make money by just selling the products. My mom just uses the money she makes mainly to just pay for her own products. That's kind of how she's typically used it. But there's good, like, I think it's not like Primerica's a pretty good like multi-level marketing.
No, that's not multi-level. Primerica's an insurance agency.
But it has a multi-level, because I've been approached by a few people from Primerica.
But are there legs?
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
yeah.
Goodness.
But I mean, I think the insurance, I think that's a kind of a good way of doing that, because it's like that's a product that's a little bit more.
Yeah, but it's not proprietary. Like you can buy term insurance and invest the rest anywhere.
That's true.
Like everybody sells term insurance now.
Yeah.
Sounds like Sam missed out on the Primerica.
Yeah, apparently.
Yeah, you'd be if you join Primerica now, Sam, it'd be like buying the
I'm not gonna
18 millionth McDonald's.
Yeah, no, and it's true too, because I have heard like the math doesn't add up with a lot of the multi-level. Like there is a
well, it does if you're at the top.
Oh yeah, definitely.
My mom,
to start my own.
Growing up, my mom was a sucker for not multi-level marketing, but for salespepeople that would come to your house. And do y'all remember
the
what?
vacuums?
Kirby, Rainbow and Kirby vacuums. We've owned them all. We and actually
the golden age.
we were telling this story over the holidays. There was a guy in Mississippi that we know, and I won't name his name. I like the guy actually quite a bit. Good hearted guy, but he was young and kind of starting out in life and trying to figure out a way to make some money. And he actually worked in and out of my store some, I believe.
Your flooring store?
Yeah, the flooring store.
Yeah.
But he ended up selling some cookware, some high-end cookware. And so he comes over to the house and does the cooking demonstration. James, kind of like you said, you're a little hijacked. But we knew like this was a sales demonstration. And the reason we did it was because if we let him do the sales demonstration, we got a free gift. And then if someone ended up buying, we got another free gift. And of course, my mom ended up buying the whole set of cookware, but we got this high quality cheese grater. It's like it sits on a stand, or it like has a suction cup stand. It's stainless steel. It's got this cup, and you put the cheese in the top, and just basically crank a lever and or a
that
handle.
Sounds wonderful.
And this thing, I'm talking about, you can if you needed 5 pounds of cheese grated, I could do it for you.
Who doesn't need 5 pounds?
I'm not kidding. I could do it for you in about a minute and a half.
Oh my God. Just like one of those massive blocks of cheese. Like
you just stick it in the top and start cranking that handle.
That sounds
therapeutic. And it puts on a wheel and it just grates it. And we still have it. We still use it. We've had that thing easily 15, more than that.
I know my mom still
probably
got
had that 18
Tupperware.
years.
Tupperware was multi-level, right?
I think so.
Yeah, kind of like the Pampered Chef thing. I think that turned into that.
There's some good when they're more products like focused. They're very good if it's all about the products. But if it's all about building a team, it's like I've noticed those aren't great.
We should start one around cryptocurrency.
Ooh,
that's not a bad idea.
It's like there's no value in it anyway, and you just go ahead and sell it. And we
there's no value in cryptocurrency?
Well, there's, I guess, it's what people are willing to buy it for, I guess, is the value, right?
If Donald Trump can sell comics, like those NFTs, is that what they're called? Non-fungible tokens.
Was that his like huge announcement? He's like, I've got a major announcement. And it was like the NFTs. And like everybody was like, seriously?
Do either of you know like how much money he actually made on that? I bet you he made a lot of money. I don't know Donald Trump does stuff.
Well, let's look at his tax returns. That ought to be in there.
I don't think he should have pulled the all hands on deck, red alert,
Yeah.
Just to announce NFTs.
Y'all, Listen, regardless of what you think about him,
boy cried wolf situation.
I saw the funniest mashup video the other day. I wish I had it queued up to play, but it compared and contrasted when when Osama bin Laden was killed. Have y'all seen this?
No.
Versus when Abdul Abu Baghdadi or whatever that guy's name was killed.
Yeah.
All right, so picture this. So they bring out Obama, right? Both of them made this statement from wherever, the press corps, White House, wherever, that they do these things. I think they did it from the same spot, actually. But Obama comes out to announce we've killed bin Laden. And then, many years later, Trump comes out to announce that we've killed this other terrorist, whatever. So Obama, you know how polished of a speaker he is. He goes, tonight, in a secretive operation, United States of America, armed forces, blah, 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 took the life of Osama bin Laden. And it's so professional done.
Right.
and so Obama would say this over here, and it showed Trump doing it. He goes, tonight, we killed him. He died like a dog. So really brave men. There was a lot of shooting. We didn't even go through. We didn't even go through the front door. We shot him dead. Or we went through the front door. He does that. He was more dead. He was as dead.
He's never been as dead as he is right now.
And then at the end, of course, Obama's like, we'd like to thank the men and women, the fearless men and women of this team. And then Trump goes, I never get credit for these kind of things.
I never get credit. Trump's like, if my Secret Service had let me, I would have been right there with him.
Oh man, it's comedy gold, and it's just.
I miss it. I won't lie. I miss the comedy.
Well, listen, so for the listener, by the way, write in and tell us about your multi-level marketing schemes. If you've been involved in Pampered Chef, Tupperware, whatever, let us know. Was it good? Horror stories? Let us hear from you. But we started, because we don't ever really know what we're going to talk about, honestly. Like, we didn't talk at all about the content of this podcast this morning.
Not at all.
And the first thing, for whatever reason, that came out of our mouths was conspiracy theory. So that really has piqued my interest. So, you know how at the end of the year you have podcasters or YouTube, content creators, people on the radio will count down, the top, things that happened in 2022, or they'll have their predictions for the new year. Well, I read this article about the conspiracy theories that will be validated in the upcoming year.
Oh my goodness!
You want to hear a few?
Please. Oh my goodness!
I think I bet I already know what they are.
All right. Well, here's the first one. The role that the intel community and the Justice Department played in the violence through psyops on January 6th will be exposed.
Ooh.
I hope that's true.
Hope that is.
Number two, cover your ears, some of you folks listening. The deadly impact of COVID vaccines will become undeniable. That was prediction number 2. We can talk about any of these after. Number 3, the scope of China's control over the U.S. government will become even more clear. Yeah. That's a scary thought there.
Dude, that's one of those I might want to take the blue pill on, I'm just checking.
Some of these may just be wishful thinking, but so here's number 4. The true nature of David DePape's relationship with Paul Pelosi will become revealed.
Who? That the guy that was in his underwear with the axe or whatever,
or the hammer in Paul Pelosi's apartment or house. We will find out.
I'm okay with that one not coming.
Trump's purloined Mar-a-Lago files really contained. So when the Justice Department raided Mar-a-Lago and took the boxes of files, we'll find out what really was on those files. Number 6, we will learn what the Democrats intended to do with Joe Biden and who will be tapped to replace him. So this year, we're going to know.
Did you see yesterday or the day before
you don't think?
He actually referred to Kamala Harris as President Harris?
Yeah, he's done that
several times.
He's done
that so many stinking times.
Okay, number 7. Gosh, these are
that was like Obama talking about his wife and calling her Michael several times.
That's another
that will get you in a Twitter rabbit hole in a big hurry.
It is, but it is so. It seems like there's some really good.
Was Michelle Obama, or is she a man?
Have you ever seen her pregnant? I've tried to look up pregnant photos of
Oddly
Michelle
enough,
Obama.
I haven't seen her pregnant.
I have never seen her pregnant.
Well, again, this goes back to the don't believe anything you hear and only half of what you see.
Exactly.
So when you start seeing those Twitter mashup photos. I just the authenticity of that. And listen, if it's true, it's true. If it's not, it's not. And I always say this: I just want to know what the truth is, but I'm not going to be duped because somebody did a beautiful Photoshop.
All right, here's number 7. We will discover the truth about the U.S.-Ukrainian partnership.
Yes.
To research and develop bioweapons.
Whoa!
See,
is that connected with the COVID stuff? Do you think?
I haven't even heard that. Was any of the COVID-19 stuff connected to Ukraine at all?
Not that I recall.
Dude, if that happens, this is gonna be like a real life Call of Duty campaign where we find out.
It is kind of odd that we have, and it's not just Democrats; it's Republicans too. We've spent $100 billion in Ukraine. It blows my mind. All right, number 8, the left's plan to normalize and mainstream. Sensitive ear alert here. So if you have your kids listening, I'm going to count down from 3, 2, 1. The left's plan to normalize and mainstream pedophilia will come to fruition. So the prediction is that you're going to hear that hard and heavy this year.
You had that Salon article a couple of years back. I always harken back to it. I'm a pedophile, not a monster.
Yeah.
That was the.
When you get done, I've got another.
Okay.
Did not happen of the year that maybe is pertinent.
All right, so these 2 more. The World Economic Forum will lead the way in trying to turn humans into glorified Matrix-style batteries. Oh man,
nice.
I guess that's Elon Musk is working on artificial intelligence, right? So we'll see.
I'd be interested to see what James's view on Elon Musk is.
All right, here's the last one. As the relationship between big tech and spy agencies become clearer, we will learn that our personal devices are tracking our every move.
100%.
We didn't already know that.
Yeah, I already know that.
Yeah, some of this stuff is like, I could leave the Paul. I think that's my first out on this one.
Because you just don't care. Because who cares? It's a big nothing.
Who cares about Paul Pelosi and his lover?
It mattered in that week's news cycle.
But it is like, it's a conspiracy that people are like, it's a conspiracy theory. It's like, well, maybe not.
All right, I'm gonna have to use the cuckoo bird on this one a couple of times too. But this is y'all will love this. This kind of plays in a little bit to the one. But where I thought you were going with the pedophilia thing was with the gender identity thing and the argument and all we're seeing with that. So here's a Facebook post someone wrote, and their name's actually blacked out, but it says, went into my local supermarket and the person at the door says, "Good morning, ma'am." I turn and look at him. "Excuse me," I said, and he repeated himself. "Who do you think you are to call me ma'am? I'll have you know you are pushing gender stereotypes, and one of my best friends is struggling with their gender identity at the moment, and people like you are the reason they always feel so persecuted." He starts to say he didn't mean anything by it. Wrong answer, buddy.
Wrong answer.
20 minutes later, and security ends up getting called. As they're about to kick me out, another shopper stops them and explains how I'm in the right and a hero for standing up for people. The manager comes out midway through this and fires the employee on the spot. Turns out their child is also struggling with gender identity.
Oh, my God.
The manager thanked me and said my next shopping trip there is free. Always stand up for what you think is right.
Supermarket blast where you just fill the cart up in 30 seconds.
When did they clap?
Always stand up for what you think is right, and karma will reward you.
And everyone
claps.
So don't you love the hypocrisy?
Oh, I do.
Of when I was called ma'am, I turned and looked at him and said,
"How dare you, sir?
Sir."
Well, I was thinking, there was that guy that was like, "It's ma'am." It's like, now it's not ma'am. It's like, there's no winning here. I thought it was ma'am.
I think that's the goal. Again, it's just to get people as confused and they cannot think straight, and that's
it's to get people to shut up and not talk to anybody and be quiet.
Saying anything.
Do you remember that there was during the whole COVID thing, there was a time where they said don't chit chat with people near you. It's like there was a really concerted effort to don't be talking about.
Don't be talking to me.
Don't be talking to anybody.
Yeah,
yeah.
It's just like.
Well, yeah. I mean, COVID-19 was the test run.
You mentioned Elon Musk
so?
And
wasn't a real deal.
You mentioned Elon Musk and maybe you guys are more plugged into this than I am, but the things that I've been reading. Basically, and I knew we had a problem with our republic, if you will, when we saw a major platform. I mean, Twitter and Facebook really right now are they're the news. I mean, they are the media. I mean, CBS News, I'm sorry, you can wrap it up. You guys are about as dead as the newspapers are. I mean, we're going to get to a moment where people don't even have, like like live TV is becoming like the landline of phones.
It's been 10 years for us.
Yeah, we occasionally flip on some news, but most of what we watch is streaming now. My point is this, is that from what I've seen and read at this point, and I was making the comparison that Twitter and Facebook are basically your news sources now. Like that's where you get a lot of your information. And we see a platform like that say, we don't like what someone's saying, so we're going to banish their account. Okay, I kind of get that. Like, I understand you've got rules and you've got community rules, and if somebody's on there, like, flouting hate speech and saying, offensive words and demean, but they did that to a sitting United States president.
Yeah, and I think that's a slippery slope too. Just to say, if I don't like what you're saying, then you are a danger to democracy.
Yeah. And I get it. Like, hey, this is a free platform. It's our platform. You say, but on the other side of that, though, is where we've lost some liberty to say, well, this is mine and I choose to do with it. And I'll tell you a couple of examples. Everyone knows the old wedding cake news story about a baker somewhere who said, look, we've had this same-sex couple come in. They're wanting us to do a groom and a groom on top or whatever, and we just don't want to do that. And they got sued, saying you've got to make a cake and you've got to make it to their standards.
Did they lose that? I can't remember.
I don't know, but there was another one that came up.
The cake baker case went to the Supreme Court and was ruled in favor of the baker.
Right, the baker. You have the right to refuse service to anyone for any reason.
Harassment and the harassment and like it was immediate after the case was over.
Yeah.
So.
But here's the thing. I actually fundamentally understand the legal precedent, right? Because there was a time in our country that we were saying, hey, you can't stay in this hotel because you're black, and we had things up. Same thing. We're seeing this thing in Florida. There was a hotel that says no Jews and no dogs. Well, I guess what I'm maybe getting at is I understand the precedent of being denied a service for certain reasons, but where do you draw the line of, say, this actually is religiously my foundational principles say that I shouldn't do this, and then you're forced to do it. Like you just can't make me bake a cake. You can't make me do that.
Right. Yeah.
Now you can say, like, no, in your hotel you're going to accept any guest who can pay. Anyway, it's
interesting. Yeah. I don't know what the line is on that.
Well, either way, it's from a legal standpoint, to James's point, I believe the baker won that case, that you have the right to serve who you want to serve or build a product for or not.
What's crazy, though, is that there was a case just like it that's now going on.
I think it was a florist, wasn't it?
Well, so there's been florists.
That's right.
There was also this, was like a website developer, I think, that was asked to develop a website for something that she, felt fundamentally was wrong. She's like, I'm not doing it. And so she got sued again. So I think the onslaught. So I think the verdict is good, right? So when this baker wins at the Supreme Court, that's a joy, and it's glorious when you win. But being sued and harassed to death is the main thing. You know what I mean? So that's the weapon. It's just the process.
All right, so let's go to modern, and let's use more of a modern thing, because these are things that we are all agreeing on that we disagree with, right? Which is same-sex marriage and all this stuff. But what happens for real if someone like there's a baker who's racist, and guy comes in and says, hey, my wife and I are getting married and we want you to bake our cake. He says, I'm not doing it. You're black.
Yeah.
Now, so they are certain that would certainly be protected under current law, under race discrimination. But that, I guess that's what I'm saying, is at what point are we going to see in this country that the president of protecting a religious belief or a race or whatever the other things are, that gets kind of pushed on everyone else that no, you have to serve someone. Now, I don't think a hotel could deny service to a same-sex couple, but a baker could. You see what I'm saying? Like, it's different services.
Do you
Why couldn't they?
Do you think this stuff is better kind of dealt with in the free market, where it's like, hey, you hear about that baker, he doesn't serve, black people. He would instantly get
I thought it was
crucified
funny that after that Baker thing came out, the Masterpiece Baker, I think it was in Colorado.
Yeah.
There was I can't remember who did this. Maybe someone connected with Steven Crowder. You remember that guy, Louder with Crowder, YouTube channel.
Yeah.
Anyway, these people went to Dearborn, Michigan, which is heavily Islam now, like Islamic, focused. A lot of Muslim presence there, or Islamic presence. And anyway, so they went around asking cake bakers to bake them a cake, and pretending that they were two men getting married. And those Muslims were like, no.
Right.
They were like, there's a Publix down the road. Go there.
Yeah.
I mean, literally nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing at all. So it makes you wonder, like, really, what's the ultimate agenda here?
It's a strange thing. And Sam, you bring up, I think, the greatest point, which is the free market. The free market typically sorts things out. And if you guys, you may remember, I've referenced maybe on this podcast, the syndicated columnist George Will. You know who he is? He's kind of got the little wire-rimmed glasses, really smart guy. Yeah. I mean, if you don't believe it, just ask him. He'll tell you how smart he is. I actually saw him speak one time, and it was pretty depressing talk about our debt. But he's a free market guy. And he was of the opinion, like, free markets will always sort things out. Now, some people did make a really nice counterpoint to say, actually, yes, but maybe it's too slow. So, for example, the example they gave was the Equal Employment Opportunity law that was passed by Jimmy Carter, which basically allowed women to go into otherwise typically male-dominated professions like truck driving, for example. And they were saying, look, that actually took kind of a law, some action, like the free market was not sorting that out. To which, George Will would have replied, well, actually, the free market pushed the legislation. I mean, it's a chicken or the egg kind of argument. But either way, it is interesting, like you said, James, to say, where does it come from? Like, where is the legal precedent? And if it's okay, if it's not okay in Dearborn, Michigan, or it is okay in Dearborn, Michigan for people to be denied service over someone else's religious belief being antithetical to what you're asking them to do, why is it being pushed in Colorado or California or wherever? Yeah. Most of the time, these things just happen and nobody takes any legal precedent to it. But sometimes they're setting it up. Some people don't really want a cake. They're wanting to set a legal precedent. Yeah,
that's like that Scopes monkey trial in Dayton. That was all staged.
Right.
It was a complete farce. Like, they all planned it out before the trial.
That's right up the road.
It is.
Yep.
Wait, what was this?
The Darwinian Scopes monkey trial.
The evolution put on trial in the 1930s. It was a big
That was in
nationwide.
Dayton?
Yeah. Yeah, you didn't know that?
Man, we live in such a cool part of the country. We
need
got
to stop-
snake handling.
You need to
down in
stop
Sail
and read
Creek.
those signs up there in Dayton.
It would actually behoove you to go up there and just go to that museum.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's in the basement of the courthouse. It's really good.
No way.
Yeah. And they have I took Jesse and Cora to a play up there where they actually reenact the trial. It was good. Yeah.
Wow.
Well, you said we didn't come prepared with content, and I actually did.
Well, there you
Rule
go.
begs to differ.
I've got so on top of our Didn't Happen of the Year awards content, I've got a real treasure here. First off, you guys, you listeners can't see this, but I have brought in with me a cassette player today.
Cassette
I ordered
player.
this off the Amazon. So I got a 40-year-old technology delivered to me in 2 days from a brand new technology Amazon.
Wait a minute, I'm going to have to cry foul on that. You got it in 2 days?
Probably.
We've not been getting stuff in 2 days since November.
Are you a Super Prime member?
Is there?
Wait, they're Super
is there
Prime?
Super
I
Prime?
No,
swear if they
no,
do
we're
that.
not Super Prime. We're Prime members, but what has happened is my wife has ordered so much stuff is that the grooves in the road actually lead right to our house.
Well, that's us,
So
that's
they
us
just-
too. But it's taken us a week to get stuff now.
Yeah, and this may have been a little bit longer, but I've ordered off my iPhone. I ordered a cassette player. Isn't that funny? But the reason I did that is because when my wife was a little girl, she had the childish curiosity and turns out just inherent wisdom to do something special, which was record her grandfather talking and telling stories. My wife.
Oh, nice.
And so I have tape after tape after tape of him that we've got to go through, and I'm eventually going to have to digitize this. So this one, I'm going to set this up, talking about a simpler time, is my wife's grandfather who passed away, I believe, in the 90s. I never met him. But he was probably in his 80s when telling this story. And this story was probably told and recorded originally, I'm guessing, in around, let's see, 88, 89-ish is when this was recorded. And the story that he's about to tell is about when his dad started teaching a school. And he even references his own grandfather in this. But he's telling a story about his dad taking over. Well, hold on. Is this the school story or is this the horse story? No, this is the horse story.
Yeah, I can't remember which one we
All right, my bad. Well, I'll tell the story about the school. He basically says his dad took over, basically a school. Like he was the headmaster at a school.
Yeah.
Well, he was the teacher. Like, that's all it was, a building and a grown up and a bunch of kids. And he said he didn't know anything about teaching, so he just beat them. He just beat them like he did us at home. All right, but I'm gonna pause here and let y'all listen to Mr. Paul here tell a little bit about what it was like growing up on the farm in rural Mississippi. This is about 2 minutes of tape. You ready?
Yeah, go for it.
Well, Dad, he had us boys a turning plow in the 6-inch, I believe it was, or 7, and we had 3 or 4 horses there, and he told us we could plow a field over there, and when we got it done, well, we could go fishing, and it's about 4 or 5 acres of it, and so we told him we needed a new pair of overalls. That our overalls just tore off of us, and he said, "Tut, boys," he said, when I was y'all's age, said, I plowed in my shirt tail, and so there wasn't nothing else said. And when he left the next morning, we put on this little short shirts all put on, and got our horses out and went over there and went to plowing. And it's right on the side of the field road that went up to Uncle Lee's, and ain't by him, Miss Borden and another woman come along, and they just looking at us, and when they got right even with us, they just turned their head off, and they went on to the house. And so when Dad come in that evening, they invited come down there and told him about it, that them boys over there plowing naked, little short sleeve shirt on there, and he said, I'll attend to them boys, and he went and cut him 2 or 3 big switches and come out there, and he said, Winfred said, now, look here, said, now, you told us last night when you was a boy that you plowed in your shirt tail, and said that's all we was doing. We just put on shirt tail and went to plowing. And he just whirled, and I seen him at the side of his face. I seen him grinning, and he just went back in the house. And so we got out of that. And
I mean, isn't that a great story?
It is. Yeah.
So one of the things that I didn't set up on that was apparently they had no mother. So their mom had died, and it was, I think, 5 or 6 boys, and their dad, and so he'd go off to work, probably the railroad or something like that, and they were just left to do.
He said
And-
that apparently it was a big farm. They had, what, they said 20-something horses?
No, 4 or 5 horses, I think he said.
Still,
You know,
Yeah.
one of my favorite stories that he tells on there, and I'll try to find it for the podcast maybe. But he had a little brother named Hale, and I get the impression in the story that he was probably 9 or 10, and Hale was probably 4. And he said we had a bull, and he said I wanted to ride that bull, and he said we had a saddle, so we put that saddle on the bull, and he said, and I'd put Hale up there.
oh my
And he said, and of course, the bull would just buck him right off.
God.
And he said, but he'd hit that plowed ground and it wouldn't hurt him. So I put him back on there. And he said, and I told him, you know, don't you let that bull get his bluff in on you now, or we'll never ride him. You know, like we've got to break him. He said, so I'd put him back on there.
It's up to you, Hale.
Yeah, he said, so I put him back up there.
I'm imagining Ella June, like Ella June's
Right,
score,
right.
you know, like.
He said, so I'd put him back up there, and he said, and finally that bull just realized, you know, like we're going to ride him. And he quit bucking, and he kind of settled down, and we'd lead him around. And he said, when I felt like he was good and smooth and ready to ride, he said, I took Hale off there, and he said, I got on him and started riding him all over.
Such an older brother move.
And he
right
said,
there.
and then Hale would come and, you know, begging me, I want to ride him. He said, I told him, now you get away from here. You too little to ride a bull.
But you know what, though? When Hale was about 30 years older,
Yeah.
he's sitting around and be like, when I was 4, I conquered a bull.
Yeah.
You can't even get up and go to school on time?
Well, I love that in that story where he's saying that, you know, that's like, y'all don't need new overalls. Like, I just did it in my shirt tail.
Yeah,
And then
yeah.
they go out and do that, and he's like,
What are
cutting
you doing?
switches
Yeah.
and stuff.
He's
It's
like,
awesome.
oh, no. They took me literally.
Well, I'm just so grateful to have that.
Yeah,
No,
that's
it's
and
beautiful.
we've got several tapes, like I said, and they're I mean, these tapes are old, so I was scared when I put them in the tape player that they were
Yeah.
going to maybe break, that they
Yeah.
were brittle, but they're playing, so I'm going to try to transfer that over to digital and just try to catch all those. But my wife, the way that one of these started is, you know, she's a kid trying to get these stories out of him.
Yeah.
And she starts one of the interviews off like this. Instead of saying, hey, you know, we'd like to interview you and get some stories about your life, she goes, Papa, tell me about your problems. And, buddy, he did. He just goes right into every...
Thought you'd never ask.
Yeah, I thought you'd never ask.
It's been 60 long years.
Oh,
No one's
man.
ever asked me.
Just unloading. I love that, man.
Good stuff, man.
Well, maybe this will be a recurring segment on our podcast.
I love
Just
that.
the
Yeah,
blast
some
from the
tapes.
past.
Yeah, I love that. You'll bring these anytime.
Or
This
we
is
can
cool.
we can dig up some other older people. We have a lot of good, you know, stories from older people in our church here
Yeah.
that we can dig up and be good.
Can I tell y'all one of them without telling the giving the names?
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
we have an older couple here, and I've got an aspiration to do something that I've not followed through on, which is to write a book. And I may have shared this with y'all, but the book that I want to write is a series of short stories around how people met and fell in love and got married, and then just, you know, talking about their life. And I was fortunate enough before she passed away to interview one of my best friend's moms. And it's just a great story about how they met, and again, simpler times and how you did
Yeah.
things. And so I've got one. I've got one story that I need about 30 more, and so I've got to go do the interviews and write them and compile them, and then everybody can buy the book. But I've only got one. But there's a couple here at church that are elderly, and I thought, man, that'd be a good couple to interview. So I sit them down one day at lunch, and I said, hey, if I come visit y'all, can I interview you? And, you know, and they're like, well, what do you want to know? What do you want to interview us about? And I said, well, I just want to learn about, you know, how you met and, you know, how you fell in love. And she looked at me and she goes, well, you better ask me. He'll just go on and on. And so I was like, okay, well, you know, we'll get both sides of it and all that. And so he was like, now, what's this going to be about again? I said, well, we're going to, you know, talk about how you and she fell in love. And he goes, well, you know, I was married before her. And I said, well, I know, and I know your wife passed, and I know this is a second marriage.
What,
you
what
know.
a way to lead off on this love story.
And I said, I know you're a
My
widower.
true love's gone.
No, it's even better. And I said, but I'm not concerned with. I said, maybe we'll interview about that one too. I said, but I'm just more concerned about this one, this
Right.
relationship, and
Right.
and how you fell in love. And he looked at me serious as a heart attack, and he goes, you know what I love? It's the Civil War. So, you know, and I'm telling that story. I'm kicking myself right now that I've not already gone and conducted multiple interviews on that one. So,
well, I will say I 100% know that you're right on this because I called that same man not too long ago to ask about how his dear wife was feeling because she'd been sick.
Oh, God.
And I was like, well, tell me what happened, you know, with this dear sister. And no, it was all, you know, in 1865, there was a march in Murfreesboro. Some of my family members were up there and part of that. It was just like,
yeah. One track mind, man. I love it. Well, guys.
She was fine, though, by the way.
Yeah.
She's been fine. We've checked in on her.
Ladies and gentlemen, we sincerely wish you a happy new year. We're so glad to be back doing this thing that we love, and I don't know that we've hit our 2,000 subscribers yet. I mean, downloads, but we're close. We're so close.
I finally figured out what number you were referring to. The total download. Okay.
Yep.
I was like, where is you'll bull in these numbers?
Well, we hope that year 2023 is great. May all your conspiracy theories be proven right.
I love that.
May all your conspiracy theories come true. Oh, my goodness.
Don't forget to give us 5 stars on every platform you possibly can.
We've got Facebook. We've got Twitter.
Share this with as many people as you can.
Links
because honestly,
in the description.
people need some love in 2023. You know what I mean? They need some good, lighthearted, fun doses of truth, and we're the ones to give it to them.
Especially
Absolutely.
for finding out Paul Pelosi's, all about his lover. We're going to need this
It's
podcast.
coming out, apparently.
Oh, my goodness. Well, we'll see.
All right. Till
Maybe.
next time.
The Have Y'all Heard About This podcast is produced by Play It By Ear Audio. Leave us a review, like us, rate us, or subscribe on whatever podcast platform you use. If you wish to contact us or you have a suggestion for the show, email us at hyhatpodcast@gmail.com.